Caesar is out and about in Rochester in Kent, where she's looking at house prices. Julia.
Yes, we are indeed, and house prices, we know, have rocketed over the past 10 years. The average house price increase is now around 204%, yet income only 92% over the past 10 years. Well, what's the problem? Supply and demand. Here in Rochester in Kent, the solution seems to be regeneration. Just take a look at this. This site here is a brownfield site which will be the home of 2,000 new homes, and 25% of which will be affordable housing. But is it the solution? With demand far outstripping supply, it does look as though we are in a very interesting situation at the moment. The UK housing supply is now at a 10-year low. Certainly we've seen around 80 to 100 buyers chasing every single lucrative property which is on the market. The UK needs to build around 220,000 homes every year just to meet demand. But last year we only saw 160,000 new homes built. So of course there was a shortfall of 60,000. If that shortfall continues, by 2026 there will be 5 million homes short of what we actually need. So, what is the answer? Well, of course, I don't know, but a man who does is David Braithwaite from Citrus Financial. David, what is the answer? How can we get past this problem of demand and supply just not meeting each other?
It's difficult if you haven't got the housing infrastructure actually there to start buying in the first place. But what we're finding an awful lot more of now is people are trying to borrow more because, as you say, when demand is far greater than what the supply is, prices tend to go up. And with the prices going up, people are having to borrow more and more on their mortgage. So the lenders themselves are having to come up with more innovative schemes how you actually get yourself on the ladder. And that could be using your parents as guarantors, it could be trying to borrow deposits from your parents, or trying to indeed buy with house to friends or anything like that to try and get yourself on the market. But the trouble is, as you say, is getting started, and that's always the hard part. The key is start saving as soon as you possibly can, really.
We've seen lenders say that they'll lend 6 times the average salary now. Is that a difficult position for people to start out in? If they start out with themselves hocked up to the eyeballs, are they ever going to be able to get out of that?
It's very difficult, and 6 times salary is a great headline-grabbing rate, but it's not available to everybody. For that sort of deal, that you'd have to put in a substantial deposit, so 25 to 50% of the amount of the purchase price you'd have to put in. So it isn't available to everybody. The danger with this sort of thing is that if house prices crash, or if something happens to your circumstances, you lose your job, you get made redundant, something along those lines happens, it's how you're going to be able to afford those repayments when you are stretching yourself that hard. And that's the difficulty. So I would just urge caution to anybody who's thinking about taking out something along those lines where you're borrowing that much times your salary. Just be very, very careful.
Now, we've also heard so many rumours about the housing market cooling down, the fact that it isn't cooling down, interest rates going up to try and make sure that it does cool down. What do you think is going to happen, and do you think we are heading for a crash?
I don't think we're heading for a crash, because what happened last time in the late 80s and early 90s was that interest rates went up to over 15%, and that happened, and the market did crash. What's happening now is that interest rates are slowly creeping up. We've had 3 rate rises in the last 7 months, so rates are on the increase. I think from certainly what we're seeing, clients are being far more careful in what they're doing. They're not overstretching themselves, and people are far more aware of talking to other people that did experience, and it was only 15 or so years ago that happened. People are very mindful of not getting in that situation again, so being far more cautious in what they're trying to do. But it's like anything, if you sit down, you budget, you work out what you can afford to do, talk to people, get advice, and make sure you plan ahead.
David Braithwaite, wise words as always. Well, one group of people who are perhaps enjoying their afternoon are those who are with John Moylan in RAF Coltishall in Norfolk, not just because